From you to Sasha.
Дякую.
From you to Поліна. Tu Богдан. Богданчик. Маленький, гарненький. Тримай пак. Віра. And Максим.
Дякую.
Пиши.
Я заговорю. Дякую.
Because illness and we... Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Тримай.
Дякую.
Дякую.
Hello, dear friends. I want to show you inside how our charity trip took place. You will see a lot of interesting stories about the Kherson region and its people. It will be an extraordinary journey for you with us. On the first day, we planned to load candy at the wholesale base in the morning and drive from Kyiv to Mykolaiv. We loaded the candy before lunch and left for the highway already in the evening. We had to drive fast to get there before curfew. Otherwise, we would have to spend the night in the middle of the road. A warm cyclone came to Ukraine and fog began to appear. In the end, we were driving in complete fog, and it was difficult because we had to maintain a high speed in this fog. At the booking.com in Mykolaiv, we booked a beautiful hotel in Hul, 2 stars enough. You can see this beautiful photo, and we wait for this beautiful hotel. Of course, I received the email of confirmation our booking with number of our confirmation, our dates. All was very nice, and we went to the Mykolaiv and wait for this beautiful hotel. But how the Inhul hotel welcomed us? For several minutes, we stood in front of the bombed-out hotel in complete shock. It was dark, deserted, and the curfew was approaching. I envisioned sleeping next to the trailer to guard the candy, because as you can see from this video, the trailer didn't have a lock. But I was worried what we would be in the middle of the street in the dark unknown. Wherefore, recovering from the shock, I called to the rescue service. A few minutes later, the police came to us and took us to the place where we would spend the night. For ethical reasons, I did not make a video in the place where we spent the night. We spent the night in a shelter for people who lost their homes due to war and have no money to their existence. We were fed and taken to the large room for the night. The room was warm, but there was a very strong stench. It was very difficult to breathe. Liliia breathed, covered her nose with the palm. The light was turned off. The people in the room were awake, and I started talking to them. I got to know each victim in that room and listening to each one's life story. What did I feel and what did I understand? All of them don't know how to live on. Their souls and their thoughts are filled with pain and sorrow, and I don't see the future. Someone does not know how to live because of the loss of the house and all the property. Someone has lost relatives or loved ones and feels unbearably alone in this world. And they all want one thing: amnesia, to forget the horror that happened in their lives. After listening to all their life stories, I painted a picture of their possible happy future and inspired them to live on. And then there was 4 hours to sleep. Such a dream with constant awakening. And in the morning we continue our charity trip. Everything was bombed, shot, destroyed. Once upon a time, people lived here peacefully, who did not wish harm on anyone. But now there are ruins and trenches and dugouts for combat operations. Passing through these terrible destructions, we reach the Kherson region. And here we continue to see all the consequences of the terrible war. The Kherson region was then and now under constant artillery shelling. So we lived not only in the area of our aid, but also in the zone of increased danger. The enemy spared nothing and no one, all around destruction. Behind every destroyed house is someone's human fate. No one can now say exactly how many civilians died during this war, but they say that the number is in the hundreds of thousands. And it was so important to bring help to those people who survived, to give people hope for a happy future, show people that they are loved and that they are not alone. The whole civilized world is with them. I thank you, my friends, for giving us the opportunity to help people, for helping these people. What you are doing is priceless. We arrived at the village of Chornobaivka, where we began our distribution of aid. Here we helped about 150 children. The village of Chornobaivka is the most legendary village in this war. The Russians constantly concentrated large forces near the village, and the Ukrainians destroyed them. Then the Russians again gathered their forces here, and the Ukrainians destroyed them again. In total, before the complete liberation of the village, Ukrainians destroyed enemy forces here 34 times. At first, I poured the candies myself, but a lot of people gathered, and I realized that I could not give help quickly on my own. Liliia filmed this process, so ordinary people came to help. They were in full control of the process. I asked them to pour as many different candies as possible, and they themselves decided what to pour for their own children. So we had democracy in its poorest form. I only accepted packages from them and gave them to children. All the children were friendly, positive, and we enjoyed handing out candy. More and more people came to us saying that we children were always sitting in basements because there is a great danger from the air, shelling, and I will show you such a basement. Це підвал. This is the basement. Many Ukrainians hide in the basement every day. People are hiding here from the shelling. This is what the entrance to a typical Ukrainian basement looks like. This is what the basement entrance and stairs look like. You can see the walls and how many times a day Ukrainians go down to the basement. At the entrance you see a bed. This basement was reinforced with wooden beams, so that in case of a bomb hit nearby, it would be possible to survive. And this is what a bed looks like on which people sleep. It's important that two people sleep on this bed. As in any ordinary basement, vegetables, in particular potatoes, are stored here. Canned products are also stored here. You can see that this basement is very small. You can also see a small spatula in the corner. The owners of the basement keep it for the opportunity to dig themselves out if they are buried in the basement. This is such a small chance for salvation. Electricity is wired there, but there is no light or heating here. This is the daily life of Ukrainians, who preserve their lives as best they can. And they keep hope, like us, to get out the basement and live happily. About 100 children received our help by the documents, because really the many dangers on this territory, and a lot of children stay at home, and we help by the documents. We look through all documents. We try to be very serious in this, and we help really with children, and I think you understand it. Beautiful child. We look through the documents, Valentin and Yakiv. The same situation with document for child called Nadia. This present from you to Nadia. Give it her mom.
Пожалуйста. О, да.
Есть.
Вот, Кира Григорівна, їй 1,5 рочку. Холодулькін Олександр, йому 11. І
Ми на ту сторону, я добавлю трошечки.
А, нету, с собой ничего. Чи в телефоне даже, если.
Як дитинку звати? Георгій. А як вас звати? Света. This present from you to a good boy Georgi. She is her mother, and we check all documents. We strictly adhered to the position that we would only give candy to children. The children were brought to us in cars while they were asleep. In our charity trip, there are many people go to us with the documents, but we look through these documents and we can see that child is present. We have this child, but they child's in basement. Because very big air dangerous. We about 1 hour ago give the present by documents, and after hour the boy called, як тебе звати?
Яша Колесникова. Яша вона просто.
Yasha go to us and say us, I'm here. And my mother is a good woman. She take the present by documents by I am. And this situation in this territory, believe us, we bring the present only from hand to hand. We were given a small gift here, but we were very happy for it. Then, taking into account all the new moments for us, we gave out help. You don't hear extraneous sounds now, but when we were there, we constantly heard explosions, and local residents commented on them to us. One time it was scary because the explosions were getting closer and closer to us. We were in the center, and the Russians are shelling the very centers in order to kill the maximum number of people. Locals already understand well when they are being fired upon by guns, when by volley fire system, and when by killer drones. It's hard to imagine what these children went through. We were approached by a grandmother whose grandson has been wounded in the arm and leg some days before, and children die all the time in the Kherson region. So, our help was a very real joy for them during the months of war. You really brought them true happiness. Further, according to our plan, we were to distribute aid in Kherson. But the local deputy, assuming that we were not giving candy to him, but to children from hand to hand, refused to help us. We stood by the stele, met some amazing guys there, and went to the place to spend the night. This is the wonderful boys. They all lived here, and they hear all these bombs. They pass occupation, and she have so big house that they have some sweets, and they want to give these sweets to us, not from us, and they want to give us these sweets. It's a wonderful Ukrainian boss. It's the future of Ukraine. So big, fast, in Kherson. And I give him little present because they don't want to take a big present. Little bit. But it's a wonderful. Kherson itself also suffered from shelling. We drove through a part of Kherson, but we saw a lot of destruction. You can see the destroyed mall, McDonald's, and our shops. Again, destruction and destruction. And it's not known how much time it will take to rebuild all this. This is such a bad road almost throughout the Kherson region. The main bridge is destroyed. We crossed the river via a pontoon bridge that the military had installed here. Hello. This road is very dangerous, but the very dangerous, not the road, but very dangerous left outside of road, right outside of road. Behind the road there are many mines. You can see this tree. In this tree very many mines, and very many mines on the left. There is no time to demine this territory, and safety only road safety, but outside of road, beside of road, very dangerous. This is a Russians block post. It's not Ukrainian, it was Russians. crossings are made next to the destroyed bridges. Now the beggars lay pipes and simply fill them with ground on top. And one day it will be possible to have a full-fledged bridge. Broken bridges are a big problem, not only for Kherson region, but also for the whole of Ukraine. Several thousand bridges were destroyed during the war in Ukraine. Step by step, and we arrived in the village of Tyahinka, where we will be based for the next 3 days. Russian soldiers mercilessly destroyed all bridges in the Kherson region. These are one of the key bridges on the road between Kherson and Beryslav. Imagine, they used 400 kilograms of explosives to blow up this bridge. And now you can see the legendary bridge behind me. This bridge even survived the World War II, but did not survive the Russian occupation. Carriages still traveled on this bridge, and it was very narrow. This bridge is more a history than a road. Ruins and destruction, and how long it will take to restore all this. Tyahinka village. Here we help about 80 children. Hello. After Chornobaivka, we change our strategy. We take some sweets from our big box and made some little boxes for children and stay it too as a base and take part of our sweets for little mobile whales, and we decide you can see and we go on the street and find childs in real near we houses and take our sweets from hand to hand. All villages, all streets by mobile. When we give all our sweets, we return to big base, take more and go in any village. With our new strategy, because we want to give it from hand to hand. This strategy turned out to be difficult because it was necessary to find where the children live. Hunters for child.
А вони що, з паспортами хліб дають?
Ні, так.
From you to Karina and Sasha.
Спасибо.
Ina! Ina! People also had to be cold for a long time. Ina! Nevertheless, the strategy brought success. We were told where the children lived and we went from house to house. Children welcomed us everywhere. Even a light rain did not get in the way. We gave and gave. We see the Russian dugout, and he is in the yard. Russians hide behind the backs of civilians, even small children. I want to make a special story about helping these children, because these kind and wonderful children are very memorable to me, and they will not leave you indifferent. Sometimes we gave help to very poor children who even without the war could not afford to buy candy. They looked at us with surprise, and I think they didn't always have money for regular sugar. Helping such a child is twice as pleasant. With children are very kind, educated. We also did not hold back and fed the dogs from this yard. The children were curious about the candies, and they looked at them with great interest. I am sure that they saw this for the first time in their lives. Imagine that thanks to your help, these children will taste delicious candies for the first time in their lives. Later, I decided to feed their dogs again because they were hungry and ate all the food. And I was surprised when the children came up to me and started talking about their dogs. They love them. And this is true pure love. We helped all children. We did not divide children into poor or rich. For us, all children were equal. All children suffered from the war, and all of them want to help. That's why we help everyone. Driving on village roads required four-wheel drive and high ground clearance. Roads were often washed out. We came to the most remote houses because we wanted to help all children in the village. And we brought help to all people who lived in the village. You can see how our way was without comments. Туда, наверное. And we came to the most remote houses. In general, the village of Tyaginka made a very good impression. At that time, the shelling of this village was not so frequent. Then the village began to be shelled many times a day, and there are dead people. What is why it's so important that we were able to bring happiness, and you see only smiles. Ukrainian child is Ukrainian girl, and every soldier give them their emblems. The fact that they say that people in the south are prone to Russian sentiments is a lie. Almost all patriots of Ukraine are here. This beautiful girl help on the kitchen and preparing cooking to our soldiers.
Дякую.
We distributed aid when it rained, but rain for villagers from the steppe is salvation. I will tell you why. There has been no electricity in the Kherson region for several months, and therefore the water pumps are not working. People collect water from springs flowing into the river. It's important that this is how they collect water for drinking and cooking. It's clear that this water is mixed with river water, but they have no other way to get water. And this is a good thing, because for the villages in the steppe, there is no such possibility, and they can only collect rainwater for survival. Imagine that people collect rainwater to survive. And all this is happening in Europe in the 21st century. Therefore, streams of rainwater are an opportunity for someone to survive. You may say, why don't I leave that village? But the people were so poor that they cannot do it. And for an ordinary person, it's almost unreal. And it's scary for them to go into the unknown. The whole Kherson region was without electricity at that time. Mobile communication did not work. There is still no electricity in Kherson region. This is all because the Russians blew up all infrastructure in Kherson region. Power lines are destroyed. People have no electricity, no communications, no internet, no television, and even the radio works only on medium waves. This is how you can spread the news and accidentally get caught in the waves of the Russian military. When we distributed aid to all children of Tyahinka village, we choose where to go. There were two options, from the right of the village or from the left of the village. To the right of the village, there were shelling with the cluster bombs. These are the parts of these cluster bombs. And these parts thousands and thousands and thousands. And if you come under such fire, death is inevitable. To the left of the village, phosphorus bombs were fired. If you inhale this phosphorus, you will suffocate and burned from the inside. And this is a very terrible death. Phosphorus cannot be extinguished, but I thought that I turn off the air conditioner. Even in burning car, I will be able to drive a little and possibly be saved. That's why we went to the side where was shelling by phosphorus bombs. Only 10 children remained in the village of Lvova due to shelling with phosphorus bombs. This is what a phosphorus bomb cartridge looks like. These bombs are banned worldwide as chemical weapons, but the Russians ignore international law. People showed us a small part of these bombs in their garden. The use of these bombs is a great crime, because they burn people alive so that they die in terrible agony. And these bombs cannot be extinguished. They burn even better with water. They even burn the Eve, as can be clearly seen from this funnel. This is a kindergarten that was completely gutted from the inside by a phosphorus bomb. Nevertheless, there were children here and we found them, so everyone who stayed here received help from us. This is a Russian rocket that fell near a village school. A rocket funnel is 50 meters from this wreckage. As you can see, the rocket has a very complex mechanism. It is difficult to understand when people aim scientific and technical progress at the destruction of children. This is a huge work of many engineers. It's especially painful to watch such atrocities. You can see the school buildings and the school itself. And in school yard lies a rocket that flew to kill. Lvova is a large village, and many children once lived here. There was also a boarding school here, but now it is empty. Surprisingly, children here are not afraid of anything. They are positive and open. We help the elderly a lot, but since we officially help children, we only have a few minutes to talk about it. Grandmother and father ask us without any documents, without anything, and we take a little sweets and give them because we can do any. We must to do it. We want to do it. We helped with grandmother because she survived World War II, and this is a second war in her life. She still believes in our victory, as she believed then, 80 years ago. Two terrible wars for one human destiny. For the elderly, this war is a real disaster, and we also help such people a little, off camera. Due to constant shelling, people live in houses where the windows are covered with something. So even during the day, the houses are dark because there is no electricity. This is how children and adults live, who want to survive in the hell in which they found themselves because of the war. And how important is it that you help them? Your help is a great ray of happiness for them in their hellish life. We really risked our lives to provide hand-to-hand help to children. We moved along the Russian position and were within range of even a simple machine gun. In the village of Lvova, we were almost 700 meters from the Russian positions. The Russians constantly fired from this position. From the positions of the Russians to the place where we spelled, it was about 2.5 kilometers or 1.5 miles. In the village of Lvova, we were the closest to the positions of the Russian troops. The distance from the shore to the village is about 700 meters, or about 2,000 feet, and this village is often shelled. We left the village of Lvova, and we arrived at the next village, Oleksandrivka, which is also under fire. The distance from the village and those streets where we distributed aid to opposite side is only 130 meters or about 400 feet. It was dangerous too. Fortunately, this small distance is not to the permanent positions of the Russians, but to the islands which are a grey area. The immediate positions of the Russians are on the left bank of the Dnieper and are as close as is possible to the village of Lvova. And then there are the islands, but the Russians very often send subversive groups to the islands from their permanent positions, and they attack the village itself from these islands, so there is also a danger. You can now see these islands behind me in the video. The islands are covered with trees, which increases the danger. There are houses visible behind the islands. There are already regular positions of Russian troops. I made a short video here because we were afraid of snipers, but at the same time, despite the danger, we drive along this street close to the Dnipro river to give help. At that time we did not think so much about the position of the Russians as about the fact that we should help all the children in the village. The desire to help was stronger than the fear of dying, and people lived there, and you can see the houses on this street and our car. In general, you can see a map on which you can see that the headquarters of the Russian troops in the city of Nova Kakhovka is located very close. They control the Kakhovska HPP, and they placed their troops down the Dnipro River to hold the defense. As a result, the villages across the river suffer from shelling. Next, we came to the village of Oleksandrivka, where we help about 50 children. Only such a sign indicates its beginning. The children here are beautiful. They study remotely at school. Despite the war, they get an education. I am convinced again that the hand-to-hand strategy is the best. You can see the child, talk to him, get the joy of direct contact. We also help disabled and mentally retarded people. This is a son boy, like son boy, and he older than child, but he need help too. And with help from William, from you, to Stepan.
Дякую.
We also help different people, and this boy we help too because illness, and we help him too. My apologies for constantly telling you stories and not showing enough of the children we helped. I will pay more attention to this in the future. I really want to show you the real life of the deoccupied Kherson region. But I want to note that everyone who helps our charitable movement separately receives a video where we helped a child on his behalf. Wherefore, everyone has their own children who received help, and everyone receives this video with a personal thank you. So everyone can see who and how much we helped. I would like you to see Liliia in this film. She did a lot, but she was filming all the time, and there are very few videos with her. Now you can see from the side how she filmed our charitable activities all the time. We are very lucky. We always met the right people on our way. In this village, the principal of the school, who knew all the children, turned out to be a passerby. In the previous village, it was a shop assistant who also knew everyone in the village, and in the next village, its young leader helped us. Wherefore, people who knew everyone in the village immediately appeared on the way in each village, and they traveled with us and helped. There are a lot of such burned out cars on the sides of the roads. This is ruined hopes for salvation. In the village of Burgunka, we helped about 70 children. We took the photo at the entrance to the village after the distribution of aid. We really liked this village. It's especially nice that the young herd of the village was with us all the time, who had list of all the children, even those who came from the neighboring village. And that's why we could quickly and qualitatively provide help to the children who lived here after the occupation of Kherson region. During the distribution of aid, we came across children who looked like adults, and I was very worried about this. I was afraid that you would judge me for helping such grown-up children. But I could not leave them without help, and I believe that you will understand me. This boy have only 16 years old, but he higher than I. But he is a child too, because 16 years he is. But he say me that you don't believe that he's child, but he's child. All is good. And this present from you to him. Okay. We were very lucky that the village of Burhunka was not shelled that day, and in the previous village not far from us there were explosions, which you probably noticed when we were helping a mentally retarded boy. Liliia and I felt the blast wave. Liliia even felt a little shaken. But the shrapnel did not reach us because we were a little above the explosion, and that saved us. And everything was quiet in this village, and we were very happy about it. After all, we feel responsible for children and don't want them to suffer. Who are you? What are you doing in my village? Oh, you came with help. When you are welcome. I'm a typical duck for the village of Burhunka. It's trademark. And I'm glad to see you. I'm very grateful to you for supporting our charitable movement. These happy faces of children are primarily your merit. Thank you for not remaining indifferent to the fate of Ukrainian children. For our part, we will continue to work in order to help children again and again. We will continue our activities and help children as much as we can. With happy smiles, with childlike joy, is worth working harder and harder for. So, we are already preparing the fourth charity trip. Now we are in the village of Burhunka, and this is a kitchen for soldiers, but we stay it's for children because we meet the good chief of this village, and she show us the all children in the village, but we cannot find 7 children, and for these 7 children we stay with Swedes here because we understand that this beautiful chief of this village is normal, and I believe that these Swedes stay and bring, they give it for children, not for himself, for children from their hands to hands of children of this village Burhunka. We were happy to leave this village because there were many children there, and now I will show you a city where we did not see people at all. I want to show you the city of Beryslav. This is the district center. Before the war, about 20,000 people lived here. We are now approaching the bus station. There was life here around the clock. Buses, taxis, many people. Here, even in the middle of night, life was bubbling. And now it's daytime and nobody. It's like in a terrible movie about the apocalypse. Only it's all reality. It's all real. I was driving and couldn't believe my eyes. The city of many thousands seems to have died out. No one to be seen anywhere. Not a single light or hint of life. It seems that no one has lived here for a long time. empty streets, beaten road, abandoned houses. I had sat 4 children in the trunk, and I never saw children there. One desolation and hopelessness. And there are many such cities in Ukraine now, and some cities are also heavily destroyed. This is a horror of war, which cannot be hidden. Do you remember the pontoon bridge over which we drove to Kyiv? This is very dangerous place. A lot of people died there. He was constantly under fire, and we were also afraid to die there. We still had time to return via this bridge, but then it was bombed, and because the great danger in that place no more, cities were rebuilt. Now, these are historical shots of the bridge, which is no longer there, and we are the lucky ones who drove through it and remained alive. We returned to Kherson, where we helped about 100 children. You see posters at the entrance with inscriptions: "Relatives, you are free." There were also children in Kherson. Some were small, but most were older. But at the same time, there were a lot of adults. I constantly explained to the people to whom we give help. I asked those people who have children in basements or bomb shelters to show at least some documents about their existence. All people wanted to receive gifts, and we gave candy as much as possible only to children and those parents who actually had children. This is how our last day of distribution of aid went. There was also light rain. At first there were few people, but then they came more and more. We helped everyone we could. Finally, I will show you how to record a video thank you in the original without naming specific names. But in personal video thanks, we mention names. This present from you to the boy Arsenій from Kherson. Будь ласка. From you to Ivan, a good boy from Kherson. Ура. This present from you to a good boy Артем from Kherson.
Спасибо.
This present from you to Misha, a good boy from Kherson. Тримай. A present from you to Nika, a beautiful girl from Kherson.
Спасибо.
From you to Glib, a good boy from Kherson.
Дякую.
With the last present in our third charity trip, is present to a good boy Dima from Kherson.
Спасибо.
We help a lot of cats, dogs in our third charity trip. Thank you, Stefania. And also we have a lot of video, and you can see some of them. We love animals very much, and we are always happy to help them. Unfortunately, this war left everyone homeless, and animals are no exception. We met hungry animals everywhere. We helped the dogs of poor people. We helped by simply stopping on the highway. Surprisingly, we did not encounter any aggression from these animals. They happily ran to us and waited for food. Such help took a special place in our third charity trip. We are leaving the Kherson region. We are tired but happy. Together with you, we helped more than 450 children, as well as the elderly and disabled. We are again horrified by the ruins left by the war. We are still in the zone of enemy artillery fire, and that is why we want to leave this dangerous place as soon as possible. But we can't always go fast because the road is often simply terrible. There are many potholes on the road. You will now see our tires. We try to be very carefully because you can see our protector. You can see our wheel. This is our wheel in this charity trip. We try as we can, but all is good. We returned to Kyiv when it was already dark. A warm cyclone caused heavy snowfall, and it was difficult for us to go again, and we had to go quickly, because we had to get back before curfew. Later the snow subsided. We were tired but happy. We helped the children. We did not die under shelling, and we can already prepare the next charity trip. After hours of exhausting traffic, the headlights of our car illuminated the ceiling of our native city of Kyiv. We are home.